there is something called depressive realism. Studies show that people who are depressed are actually better at predicting future odds than people who aren't depressed. So they see the world in more realistic ways, is the idea. Yes, but we also know that, people who are depressed think that the past was worthless, the future, there is nothing good coming in the future, and the present is absolutely horrible. They also tend to think that they themselves aren't worth much at all. And another aspect of depression is that we can become convinced that what we think is realistic is real. Well, I don't know if it's realistic, but one thing is for sure is that when we get trapped by these thoughts, our life doesn't function well. And maybe the question is, do we want to have a realistic vision of life, or do we want to have a life that works? And once we start looking at things this way, then things change. Maybe the question isn't to argue with our thoughts and try to change unrealistic thoughts. And if you've tried to argue with depressed friends or even with yourself when you're feeling depressed, you know how hard that is, and sometimes it even makes those depressive thoughts even stronger than before we started to argue. So instead of getting into those arguments, how about if we could just make space for these thoughts, notice them, make space for the sometimes very painful emotions that come with them, and turn towards the relationships and the things that are important to us. Turn towards these things through our actions, by just doing things to move towards these important people and things. And the big lie of depression is that if you have a realistic view of the world and the future, and by the way, the economist Keynes used to say, in the long term we're all dead. So that's realist for you. If you have a realistic view, then there is no point in doing anything, and we curtail our actions, and then we lose motivation. Well, that's the lie of depression, but in fact we know from research that things work exactly the other way around. It's by doing things, by getting active, that we become motivated. So knowing that, we can start doing actions, we can start becoming active, we can start taking steps in the directions of the people and the things that are important to us, or if we're not sure anymore what's important, that were once important, and gradually we will discover that our zest for life comes back, that motivation comes back, and that we're out of the depressive loop. So that's a better kind of realism, I'd say.